Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today, Wednesday, June 5th, for a fantastic webinar. I'm really excited about this one. It's going to be an absolute ripper, promoting student engagement using interactive notebook tools. Before we do get started, I would like to remind you, if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them over in the questions tab on the site, and we'll get to them at the end of our webinar. This afternoon, I will take you through about 5 minutes at the end of our webinar to go through how to access your certificates after this webinar. So I'll take 5 minutes after we've done our questions with our presenters today and just take you through a quick run through on how to go and find these webinars once they're posted and get your personalised certificate. Now, let's get started. I have two amazing presenters today that also have some very special guests that we are really excited about. I will hand over to both Jackie and Cassie, my apologies, Jack and Cassie, to introduce each other, and we'll get underway. I really hope you enjoy.
Thanks, Beck.
All right, thanks for joining us all today. I'd like to introduce the marvellous Cassie Allen. She's a classroom teacher of 6 years, Year 5 team leader, reporting coordinator, and a SMART Exemplary Educator.
And I'm going to introduce our unreal Jack Anderson. He is also a SMART Exemplary Educator and a classroom teacher of 6 years. He also runs the Junior Robotics program at our school, and he is Social Skills Coordinator. So we just have a look at today's agenda. The purpose of today is to develop your teacher skills in Notebook, therefore increasing student engagement.
For the process, it's to demonstrate a variety of tuning in activities and explain the notebook skills used and the positive impacts on the learning environment.
And as a result, the payoff that we hope you guys get out of this is just to feel a little more skilled in the use of Notebook, be a bit inspired on what you could do in the classroom, and implement that professional learning. Gives you a bit of a roadmap for the continuation of your Notebook journey.
All right, so I'll kick it off. I've got a bit more of a focus on the junior side of things, so the junior school in numeracy and in literacy. And before we go on to the next page, we should introduce a few special guests that we have with us today.
Yeah, we've got some kids with us today, so do you want to say hi, guys?
Hi.
And they're just going to help us out. We thought it's better for the kids to use the software than us because that's what we're doing every day in the classroom. And I'll focus a little bit more on the senior years today, but we'll have a good mash of both.
So we'll start off on this first page here. This is just looking at embedding a YouTube file directly into Smart Notebook. Obviously, it's always really engaging for students to have a look at different YouTube clips. The great things about this, the good features about this, is that when you do search them through or embed them through Smart Notebook, you don't get any ads. So the ads are automatically skipped, and it's also got a safe search filter, so all the material is appropriate. So you can tune the kids in by starting off with a shape hunt.
Let's play Find the Shapes. Ready? Go!
So basically, it goes through a short clip there where you find different three-dimensional shapes
Find the cylinders.
in the environment around them. It might be in the classroom or outside or in the playground. And then as we scroll across to the next page, you've got a little bit of an introduction here to one of the tools that you find in your Smart Lab, which is the shout-out activity. This uses devices. In this particular one, the students can connect to shout-out. Then they have the option to take photos of different things around the room. And then they get to sort it into two different categories. So we've got the 2D shapes and 3D shapes. So they find something, take a photo, put it into the category, and then have the option to send it through, and it comes up on the board.
They're just doing that now.
Hopefully we'll have a few come through.
And if you guys want to connect at all today, the code is 1469100 if you want to join in.
And the great thing about this is the students really enjoy it when what they've done comes up on the board. They get to see other students' ideas, and sometimes this can really be a great kickstart into the lesson as they're all sharing their information live onto the screen. This one that we look at is using the 3D shape tool. This one demonstrates the difference between a 2D and a 3D shape. So at the front, they all look like the same shape, but in actual sense, when you actually get the chance to move the shape around, have a look at its different features, you can talk about the faces, vertices, even some angles. You can see that each shape is actually different, whether it's a square-based pyramid, triangle-based pyramid, a sphere, or a triangular prism. So that just shows that a 3D shape really has a lot more detail than what a 2D shape can offer. All right. So this one uses a couple of different features. We're in the Smart Lab, again, you'll find this game, it's called Flip Out. In this one, you get the option to use the magic pen, which is basically just the pen that you can write with, and then after a short period of time, it disappears. So what shape are you looking for? What shape are you looking for there?
Looking for a cylinder.
So you think you know where the cylinder is, eh? Oh, sorry, we just accidentally turned the page. All right, so just let it load up again. And you got the magic pen. So here we go. He writes down cylinder, and then he has to identify which shape on the cards he sees as a cylinder. And by tapping on the correct card, you can see that it was cylinder. Beautiful. And then the magic pen erases, which gives the opportunity for another student to come up. What shape are you looking for?
A sphere.
Sphere. So again, she writes in the shape. And then finds the sphere on a card. And there we go. And then the pen erases again, and we can start the process all over again. Really engaging tool. The kids love the magic pen. They love it when their handiwork disappears. And also the turning the cards around game is always an exciting one for the young ones. So this one's called Game Show. This is an absolute favourite in my classes. It's often used as a bit of a reflection on a unit rather than a tune-in, but you can use it, of course, as a tune-in. It's very simple to set up for educators. It's only a matter of embedding some questions. The students get a chance to spin the wheel. If they get it correct, they get 100 points. Occasionally you get bonuses come up, which allow you to get even more points. You can break them down into teams. You can have them individually, working together. It's up to you how you want to run it. It certainly gets the excitement levels up in my class. So if they get the wrong answer, like so, it tells them, they've done a great job, but it gives the other person or the other team a chance to to answer the question just for a little bit less points. And then at the end, we'll have a winner, and it's a great way of sort of seeing where they're at and where their knowledge is on the particular topic. So that is an absolute favourite, and it takes 5 minutes to set that up.
All right, so this is a bit of a maths tune-in that we use regularly. We've got the interactive dice up here, so the kids can just tap that. And then the idea is that they'll use those numbers with addition or subtraction to work out their result. And then they can drop and drag their counter. So they'd be on two different teams, and the aim is to get 3 in a row. So if you're red, you'll drop to the answer, and then you'll have a go. This picture that has the counters on it is called the infinite cloner.
Infinite cloner.
Always get that wrong. And it's just really cool because you can have an image, and then you can right click on the image and make it come up as many times as you want. So we haven't loaded those images there. They're just going to come out as many times as we want until we take that away. So that's a pretty good one. And this is the next couple of slides we took out of a persuasive unit that we were doing in the senior school. And we just looked at persuasive language and warm-up games to sort of get them in that mindset. So the topic for this was just a bit of a 30-second argument. And we've got these pull-out tabs that we can have, and we've linked audio to it. So this is one that the kids have previously done. And if I'm just going to tap this topic here, and then it's going to play the argument that they've pre-recorded.
Footy tipping opens a gateway to gambling and introduces bad habits when they are very young and may lead to bad financial choices throughout the rest of their lives. These poor life choices may lead to things such as homelessness and hunger. Footy tipping. Think about it carefully. It can change how you act in multiple ways. Tipping is useful because it's a chance for children to spend time with their peers. Inspiration also comes in because after you tip, you're willing to watch it, and that could possibly inspire you to be physically active and also benefit your health right now.
So you could link one like that as an example, and then you could get the kids to do it with a partner, or they could just do it verbally as a bit of a warm-up. So this one that we're looking at now is an example of a student's piece of work, and they've written this and then we've put it up to use it to identify different persuasive techniques. The topic they were looking at was, should homework be banned? And what I'm going to show you first is a pretty cool feature where you can put it on dual display and then you can pin the page. So if we go here and I want this page of the children's writing to be pinned, I'm going to go like that to put it on dual display through the view tab, and then I'll tap the page that I want pinned, which in this case is the one with the text on it, and I'm clicking this little pin button up here. I can then go through the pages and put it on full screen, and then no matter how many different pages I flick through, that page on the left will stay the same. So that's a cool feature that we use to identify different techniques.
And some of you might notice that the pin function might not be on your toolbar at the top, but it will be in your accessories that you can drag and add to that. And this is something that I use all the time. It's fantastic for comprehension activities if you want to have the text remain on the page and then answer a series of questions.
Yeah. So right now we're going to look at the techniques on the right. And do you want to choose one of the techniques? What do you want to do?
I would like to do a rhetorical question.
Cool. So he's going to get the highlighter up.
Change the color.
And what are you going to do?
So I'm going to do persuasive language.
I strongly believe. Awesome. Thanks, guys. So you could carry on doing that, but that's an idea of using a key to sort through their writing. So what we're going to do now is show you how to go to a different feature in Notebook. We'll just unpin the page first before I do that. And then you just need to turn dual display off. All right, now this is called Smart Learning Suite Online, or the thing we're about to go to. But before I go to it, I'll just show you this is just an image, like a screenshot that I've taken, and then I've linked that to the website. So that's a really simple thing to do that we use all the time, just to link to different resources that the kids might need. So we'll just wait for this to open. This is kind of Smart's answer to like a little bit like Google Docs, where the presentations, the notebooks can all be within the one suite. So it's been really good. I've only started using this year, but it's been really good for collaborative learning and group work and things like that. It also gives you a lot of opportunities to share the notebooks with the kids so they can use them independently or at the same time as you, and I'll show you a couple of those features as well. So this is just like a bank of all your notebooks where you would keep them, and if you wanted to upload another one, you just hit that green cross on the left. But for today, we're going to jump onto this one. And as you can see on the left here, the kids, that little 10 is people that are connected. And we have just got a bunch of persuasive techniques up for this example. And we've got different links on this. It's like effectively a home page, and we've got a whole bunch of different links. And then you can click on the one that you're working on. So guys, today we're going to look at generalization. So I'll just click on that. And we're going to create a collaborative workspace. So if I set it up, everyone who's linked to this account at the moment will join the collaborative workspace. So I'm going to say that I'll have 2 teams, but you can choose as many as you want, or you can have everyone on separate teams. For the case of this one, I'm going to go into 2. And then if I want to change it around, I can do that. So if I want specific children in specific teams, and obviously they'll normally have their names on there, so you'll know who that is. You can just sort by moving kids from here to here and things like that. So I'm going to start the workspace, and then what's happened now is the activity comes up on the kids' screens, but I can see what you guys can see at the moment, which is the different workspaces that are happening. So if I now click on team 1, then I can see what's on their screen and everything they're contributing to that activity. So we've just put a bunch of generalizations up here, like most Year 5 children don't like, and then the kids are currently typing responses to those prompts. So this is really good for group work because you can have lots of groups at the same time, and they can then move things around and they can type or they can write depending on what device you're using. And then I can go back to here and look at what the other team's doing. And obviously if you had like 10 teams up, you could do that with all the different types of teams you had.
Really great for brainstorming, collaborative work, vital tool.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, I like it.
So I'll go back here and have a look. And the other thing that's quite good about using the online, the Smart Learning Suite, is that I can decide whether I would like the kids to guide their learning and go through any, sorry guys, I just kicked you off, any slide they want, or if I want them to be on a specific slide, then I put the lesson pacing onto teacher. But if I want, and that will automatically change their slide to the same as mine. But if I want them to choose any links they want or anything on the notebook, then I can flick it to student, and now they've got that access themselves. So that's been a really good new thing that we've been trying. And I'm just going to sign out of this one and flip back to notebook.
All right, so I'll jump in again with a bit more of how I've used it at the junior end of things. Again, we've got another YouTube clip embedded here. It's just a short clip that tells you lots of facts about camels. So you play that to the students first off, hit them with as many facts as you can think of. And then again, using the shout out app, the shout out tool, they are able to use text this time rather than taking photos. This time they actually use their iPads or their laptops, whichever devices they have, and they can type text to show what they have learned. You can restrict the amount of responses. You can also have the answers anonymous if you like, but I like to track which students have done which response. You can also, something that often has to be used, and that might be drag it into the bin because it might not be appropriate. Yes, we can confirm that. But something that I really like to do, and this is the same with the photos, but with the text, I'll show it on this example. You can actually select it and we'll zoom in and bring that one up. And that is another key tool that we use to brainstorm. You might select a response and then have a discussion about whether the response is correct, whether other people agreed. You can open up a lot of conversation and good dialogue.
And the other really cool thing about this is that you could have, if you're going to propose a question to a group of kids, you might get one response back, whereas in this case, everyone's had a turn to answer that question or to respond.
And you can get ideas from each other because you see the responses come up in front of you. Really fantastic. I use that one a lot. So this next one, I believe it's Super Sort. This is for fact and opinion. This is just a fun game. Basically, once you've done the interactive shout out and you've watched the video, you can do a little fact or opinion based game here. You can choose whichever categories you want. Use this a lot for, say, if we're doing works on nouns and adjectives and you want to classify the different words. Any parameters you can think of, you can put in there. Students love it. It's got a catchy little background song. And you can see there, if you get the option wrong, it bounces back down. You can also add things like a timer to this or a random name generator, and that's just a few extra features that engages students really well.
And this one here is just using the interactive dice again, but instead I've used the text dice this time. So this was used for reading comprehension, and yeah, you want to just tap it. The kids can just tap it and read the questions, and they can either respond verbally or in their books, or it's just a fun way of reading questions, really. Just increase their engagement a lot when they were doing it. So that's a handy little one. And I think that's all we've got.
That's all we've got on the notebook presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jack and Cassie. That was absolutely wonderful. And thank you to your special guests. They were fantastic. Yes, well done. Big round of applause. Well done. The chat box has been lining up with lots of comments, lots of clarifications, and lots of questions. So if you don't mind, we might spend a couple of minutes just going through those. Is that okay?
Yeah, we'll give it our best shot.
Awesome. So I might go through the comments first, then we'll do a couple of clarifications, and we might get to the questions. But a lot of comments saying that they loved the fact that the students were there, that loved the fact that the students were involved in the webinar, and thank you so much. So well done, everyone, for that. Another comment was loved the dice with the questions, the comprehension questions that I think, Cassie, you showcased just then. So that was really well received. So it's actually a great idea to have the comprehension questions on the dice. Really, really engaging way. We do have a couple of clarifications. So I think, Cassie, you showed SLSO. You did briefly touch on the difference between teacher and student mode. Can you just walk us through, just quickly clarify again, when you would use teacher mode and when you would use student mode?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I was using this as in an explicit teaching dynamic where I was going through maybe like the key features of something, then I would, every time I would use teacher mode because I wanted to control which pages I was looking at. But a lot of the time we put like an entire notebook, like a unit of work into our notebook. And if that's what I was doing and I wanted the kids to explore the key features of persuasive text, for example, or they wanted to refresh on the structure of the text, or they wanted to play a game by themselves, then that's when I'd flick it to student mode because then they can access any page they want. I'm not controlling what they're on.
Right, so it's more like a choose your own journey, or you could differentiate in that way and have different groups of students working on different areas if it was in student mode.
Exactly, yeah.
Perfect. There was another clarification, but I have written it somewhere else. I'm going to have to come back to that one. But I do have a couple of questions that I will go through as well. Can we have Shelley from Casino, who has asked, you access the magic pen from a different area other than the toolbar. So I'm guessing that when you did, I think it was you, Jack, when most people select the magic pen for this activity, which was fantastic, they would go to the toolbar, but you were in full screen, you didn't do that. How, can you just clarify again how you went there?
So when you are in full screen and you pick up the pen from the bottom of the board,
it'll automatically,
you get a nice little option. So I'll just pick the pen up now, and you get this little option, normally where your hand, it's the hand feature down here that you can see me swirling around. Normally when you pick up the pen, you can then select, and it's been like a little side toolbar, means you don't have to leave full screen. You get lots of options through there, as you can see, and it's quite an easy way to navigate through. Go for a magic pen. What else? You've got your highlighters there. We could have used, when we were doing the highlighters one, we could have used the same feature. But yeah, we find that a really useful sort of shortcut to use when you're using the different types of pens.
The only time you would go to that bar is if you wanted a range of colours or something. Otherwise, you can use this shortcut every time.
That's brilliant. Jack, do you mind just tapping that hand again, just to show everyone that if you use the star, you can actually star the magic pen as a button that will stay up for them to easily access. So you can actually add one of your own favorite pens as well. So a different type of pen or a stamp, and it will select the magic pen for you to stay as a star. The other thing is the little treasure chest down the bottom there. You can actually find stamps. The stamper tool is quite fun as well. It's also got text and your spotlight tool that you can use. So lots and lots of features that you can use in that little hand button when you're in full screen. Jack, we did have another point about, you did a shout it out and you deleted an inappropriate content. That one of the students may have come up. It was more a comment than a question. It was a comment about, this is actually, they would see this as a fantastic opportunity to discuss digital citizenship, and I think that that's a really important point. As teachers, it's our moral and legal obligation to not only teach our students how to be great global citizens, but also how to be responsible and safe digital citizens as well. And I think the only way we can do that is to provide digital environments like this for them to learn, experiment, and fail in a safe environment where they can learn that not only do they have consequences for things that they type, that everything can be tracked back to them, and that even if you do type it and you feel safe behind your keyboard, it is still out there and it will still have a consequence for those people that read it. So I think that that is a really good point.
Could not agree more. I mean, the best place to start is within the classroom. Like you said, it is a safe environment. It's not out. This is not out there online for everybody around the world to see. So you can start within the classroom and show that what they share when they're sitting behind a computer screen might feel like it's a funny decision for them at the time, but when you're sharing it around the public, all of a sudden you realize that they've made a poor choice. You know, this particular one was saved a few weeks ago. I could open up again and reflect on that, and everyone can see that their comments that they wrote 3 weeks ago and completely had forgotten about is actually still there and available to the whole class. You can definitely talk about consequences, as you would if you're seeing anything up there that's inappropriate that you've had to delete into the bin. And what you find is the more experience that the students get using programs like this is far less, almost none now, of things that I need to delete, because they've all learned that lesson that what they put up there stays and that it's not appropriate and not okay.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jack.
Something else we didn't show you on this is that you can actually reset them all. So if you're on something like this where they've sent the pictures, you can hit the little reset circle in the corner and it'll take everything away. I can show you now. If I hit this reset activity, then you can use it again at another time.
Which is the same for the SLSO as well. They've got the reset function there, and anything that you put into a collaborative classroom can be reset and go again.
And I guess that's a really great point, because then you don't have to remake any of these games, any of these lessons. You can actually share them between your teaching buddies, or you can use them again next year. So utilizing that time and getting that time back, or that planning and preparation time that we as teachers spend a lot of time doing.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
We've got a couple of questions, a few more. I'm going to try and get through them. I know we're running quickly out of time, but there was a question about loves the writing lesson. This would be great for comprehension. Can you show us how to get the pin tool?
Oh, yeah. We've got it already.
Yeah, we've already got that. So we've got to find out on our toolbar, but we've got the webinar. All right, so this is your customized toolbar. So you can see in the top right corner there, you've got your little cog device. So there's quite a number of functions in here that I find a lot of people don't realize that they've got it to use at their disposal. And it's simply a matter of grabbing the one that you might like. You might want to add a table, which is really good when you're, oh, we've already got the table, so let's do it. Which one do we want to add? Screen shade?
Yeah.
No, we've got screen shade.
Why don't you
It's
try
just a case of
response?
rocking and dragging though.
Anyway, it looks like we've got most of them. But yeah, this is where you find them, and then it's simply a matter of dragging it on and putting it into the toolbar, like so, moving it across. There we go.
There we go.
So we use the mouse this time. And now that ruler will be there every time that you open up your notebook in the very visible point at the top of your page. But having said that, that little cog shouldn't be forgotten about in the top right corner, because if you're familiar with what's in there, it's sort of you can utilize all the great functions that are available on Notebook.
Perfect. Thank you, Jack. Cassie, I think you showed the students' persuasive arguments, that their recorded voice linked to the tabs. Can you just quickly run us through how the students actually recorded that, or the process in which they took to do that?
Yeah, no worries. So if I just touch an image like this, I'll just unlock it because I've done that. You can just click on the image, and then you can hit insert, and then here you've got an option for audio, link, and sound. So if I click sound here, then it says record sound clip. So all I did was the kid stood next to me, and I clicked start recording, and then I clicked object down the bottom so that it was linking to the object I wanted it to. And then all I did was start record. I can do it now for a minute.
Kids, say hello again.
Say hi again, guys.
Hi.
Great argument. Well done.
Yeah, well said.
And then I hit stop and attach recording down the bottom here. And then as soon as I tap it, it will play that recording.
Amazing.
I think I've accidentally tapped it now, so I'm just going to get out of it. Yeah.
I find that really useful for when you're introducing different topics as well. We were talking before about how it's excellent for team planning, and you don't have to redo the wheel. You can use the same thing again in the future. If you record an instruction or you record an argument like that, that's something that can now be used ongoing, and it's already pre-done for you, pre-recording of the teaching.
We found this has helped us a lot with consistency as well. We're at quite a big school, so we've got 6 or 7 classes in a year level, and if everyone works off the same notebook, it's really helped with, every teacher adapts their own for their own kids, but the consistency is there.
That's brilliant. And so I guess that takes us, we've got 3 more questions. One of them is actually directed to your students, if you don't mind them answering a question.
I don't know if they can.
They're up for it. Awesome. So basically the question is, what do you think of using this in your classrooms? Has it changed anything for you guys?
Well, it does make lessons a lot more interesting and engaging.
And it gives everybody a fun experience to interact with each other, and we have a super good time always doing this and using the SMART function.
And it also gives a chance for students to see what other students think of doing what they do, or like if they put ideas on one of the pages, then you can also view it and you can learn from them. Adding on to his point, you can see whatever the other people did and get other ideas. You can get educated by your peers rather than the teacher.
You don't have to listen to us all the time.
Yeah.
I swear we didn't prep that.
Wow, I was going to say, have you got a script there? Well done. Well, thank you so much. You've done so well. We've really enjoyed you watching you interact with your teachers' lessons, and I know that it is well past home time, so I will get to our last 2 questions. I do apologise. We've got one from Simon G from Melbourne. He's asked, do you prefer using these tools in small groups or with a whole class, and does the number of students affect student engagement? Which is probably a great lead-in from hearing from our students just then.
Yeah, really good question. I would say that working with small groups is fantastic when you're using a lot of the interactive tools on the board, directly to the board, and the touch functions on the board. It works as a whole class, but if you're working in small groups, say you've got an open-ended, multiple entry task that the other students are working on, you can bring small groups aside. They can interact directly with the board, and it just means they get a little bit more time on the board and actually interacting with it, rather than if you've got 26 or 7 in your class. However, using the devices, so say for the shout out function, if you've got enough devices in your classroom, the number of students isn't at all affected. Their engagement isn't all affected because they've each got their own device and are bouncing their ideas off the board. Same with the collaborative workspace. So if you're using all the functions of the board, I would say the engagement's just as good whether you're a whole class or whether you're working in small groups.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. And our final question, I promise, is Nick from Adelaide. And I think we have covered this already, but I will just in case you have anything else to add, was what does SLSO offer to assist with student engagement?
Yeah, I think the main difference I've found with SLSO compared to Notebook is it's the collaboration that you can include. We've done a lot of work on, like, if they're working in a team and they're creating concept maps of keywords, for examples, or something like that, they can all be on that document at the same time. They can all be adding ideas and see each other's ideas and prompts. So I suppose that's the main feature that we really enjoyed that SLSO offered.
Excellent. And it's clear that that is actually coming through from your students' answers just then. The collaboration and the peer learning that they're able to do sounds like that is what is most important to them and what they're most enjoying, which is really fantastic.
Yeah, and that's what they're getting out of it. I mean, the learning's improved so much. I mean, not only are they enjoying it, but because they're more engaged, we've just found that the learning is going through the roof. So it's fantastic.
Well, I tell you what, this has been my favourite so far. I've had an absolute blast with all of you this afternoon. Thank you so much for sharing your classroom practice with us. Guys, thank you so much for sticking around after school. Hope you're getting some extra school credits or something special this week as a thank you for joining us here at SMART. We might have to send you some special monster socks if we can get you something special to say thank you, because this for me has been invaluable. It has been wonderful hearing from two fantastic teachers and a bunch of wonderful little friends this afternoon. If you don't mind, I am going to take about 5 minutes just to explain how to get everybody's certificate. So if you guys, if our little friends need to duck off, that is totally fine, but I'm going to take 5 minutes now to explain certificates. But thank you so much again for running this webinar this afternoon. We really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Great experience. Loved it.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys.
Thank
you so much. Thank you. And so if you're sticking with me today, I just wanted to quickly show you how to get to your certificate. If you are watching this today and you have watched our a series this term, thank you so much for joining us. The best way to get to our Term 2 series webinar is to go to training.smarttech.com. and it will take you to our professional development site. Now, the best way to navigate from there is to tap this button up here called Explore Offerings. Once you've clicked Explore Offerings, it will take you to all of our educational offerings that you can do, and you can see our webinars will be stored here also. So this is where our Ed-to-Ed webinars will be housed. Our Term 2 series is not released yet. It will be released by next week, but you can see here I've got a little check in my Tiwi Languages Australia webinar. Up here, you will have a login button. If you can log in up here, it will actually log your activity and track all of the online training that you can do. So you can do the webinars, you can do courses if you like. We highly recommend the SMART Digital Educator course to start if you are just starting out on your SMART journey. But you can see here that if I go into Tiwi Languages Australia, which was one of our webinars from Term 1, I've got a little check, which means I have logged in, have watched the Tiwi Languages webinar. You can see that it's sitting here underneath, and you can see my certificate is readily available. I can download my certificate and it'll be a personalized certificate with my name and the hours that I have done. Now, if I just track back a little bit and show you one that I haven't completed, because for today, our webinar will be uploaded, but it won't check that you have watched it because you've watched it live. So if you would like to, you can go into the webinar once it's uploaded. You can click watch webinar. Now, this is for any webinars that you want. You're really lucky, you get access to all of the global webinars, so you can watch any other webinars that you like. But for the webinars that you have seen or you have already seen, feel free to press play and skip all the way to the end. Once you have, you will actually have a completion button that you can click. And I'm just going to mute, and you can say, congratulations, you can mark this module as complete. So to mark it, you need to click the button to say, I have completed it, and then it will come up here on the bottom to say that you can now download your certificate. So all of our Term 2 webinars will be uploaded to the training.smarttech.com, clicking the Explore Offerings up the top here, and all of our Term 2 webinars, including this fantastic one, will be sitting in here ready for you to go, and you'll be able to download all of your personalized certificates and track all the webinars and training that you have done, and maybe even grab a few extra webinars that are little gems waiting for you to pick up. There are some fantastic things in there. So again, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It concludes our Term 2 series of our webinars. We will be back Term 3 next term, and we hope to see you then. Thanks so much. Bye.